Hello, everyone. It's Michael, and we're going to dispense with the normal openings of my videos because we're going to get right to the title of the video, Shofar. Okay, so just some real quick broad strokes for you people that don't know what a shofar is. A shofar is a horn. It's a horn made out of a ram's horn. Very occasionally, it can be made out of a bull's horn, but almost always it's made out of a ram's horn, and it symbolizes so many things in Judaism and Hebrewism. What I'm going to do is tell you guys a bunch of stories about how rams and sheep are inherently related to Judaism and Hebrewism, and then tie in a bunch of Moshe stuff and Mashiach stuff with that. So why am I doing this video right now with such a controversial name and everything? Well, because God sends me signs when to do this stuff, and here they are. I guess for all of you that have been living under a rock for the past couple months, the land and country they call Israel is currently going under like a cultural civil war for reasons I've detailed in previous videos. But why that video set me off is just all those people blowing those shofars in my face. Yeah, it does have an effect on me. All right, this one may be seem like kind of a joke for such a serious issue, and it kind of is, but the timing was the same because of the writer's strike and everything. There's a lot more things that pop on my YouTube that didn't before, and a whole lot of curb stuff has popped up on my YouTube. And like, I haven't watched all the episodes, but if you watch enough YouTube, you can pretty much get the gist of all the episodes. And like, the chauffeur episode is Shofar episode is one of my favorites. I highly recommend you watch it. Okay, so that's just a screenshot of the details of my Raphael horn spreadsheet, and I named it that because of, you know, for many reasons. There's mathematical, there's a joke, but Raphael's horn, he's the one that blows the horn at the end times. In another universe, I named that file Shofar, and that's the name of my Revelation video as well. So it's just kind of like another universe version. So now you may be asking yourself, okay, so then how else do rams pop up in Judaism or Hebrewism, and how are they related to Moshe's or Mashiach's? Okay, starting out at the beginning of time, almost all humans throughout history defined the end of the day at sunset because they didn't have watches or anything. They didn't know when exact midnight was. And such it is with like the timekeeping of Judaism and Hebrewism and anyone before. And they specifically got this from the Egyptians. In Egyptian mythology, the sun god Ra is the embodiment of the sun, whereas the head of an eagle has the golden chariot and rides across the sky during the day and sets and creates the night. And a lot of people know that part of the story, but a lot of people don't know the next part of the story. When the sun sets and Ra enters the underworld, he steps onto this underworld barge where he's meant to fight the serpent Apophis, the emphasis of evil, the devil, for the entire night, and he always has to succeed, otherwise, the sun will never rise again. But before he does that, he always takes off his eagle's head and he puts on the head of another animal, and that animal is a ram's head. Sometimes Ra is alone. Sometimes he has allies fighting Apophis, but he always has to fight the snake and succeed. Otherwise, again, the sun would never rise again. Such is the legend. And that's where the Hebrews and through that the Jewish people get the the notion of the old world where the day ends at sundown and not at midnight. Side note, just for flavor, I'm not going to modify this video, but if I was truly going chronologically, I should have mentioned the Binding of Isaac, because there's definitely a ram in that story, but I talked about that before, and like I said, side note. But I guess that brings me to my best argument is you are all descendants of shepherds. When you look at timescales as long as I do, humanity, modern humanity can basically be defined by three different groups: the shepherds, the farmers, and the hunter gatherers that weren't annihilated by the shepherds and the farmers. And obviously, historically, you guys are the shepherds. All right, next. Now we're into Exodus. When Moses, first met God, the burning bush, it was because he chased a sheep that had run away from the herd. And I'm pretty sure it's a black sheep. And everybody remembers the story about Moshe being there next to the bush, gazing upon God, but like nobody ever thinks about that sheep that was standing right next to Moshe. He's the only ever one she, it could have been a she, that witnessed that, except for Moses. Pesach, aka Passover, is all about sheep, even though it somehow gets turned into all about unleavened bread. But just the way that your ancestors cowered and tried not to get slaughtered and used the sheep's blood over their doors, lamb's blood or whatever, and the way that Moses led them out of Egypt like a bunch of sheep. It's all about sheep. Which brings me to the crux of my argument that Pesach, Passover, is all about rams and sheep. So God told Moses that Pesach, Passover, would always be in the spring. And the definition of Passover is that it is the first full moon after the spring equinox. So, except for leap years, the spring equinox is March 20th, which means the first day that Passover can occur on is March 21st, which means the last day that it can occur on is April 20th, roughly. And the date that happens right in between those is April 5th, the mean and average of all Passovers, as I've denoted before, which is also my Aries birthday. Now you might be saying, yeah, but that's ancient history stuff. That doesn't really apply to the Western zodiac. I mean, Aries is the first house in the Western zodiac, and Taurus is the second, but that doesn't really apply to the ancients in the East, but actually it does. While the names of the zodiacs have changed over time, in Hebrewism, Aries is called Nisan. That's the first month of their calendar and everything. The animals associated with those zodiacs have not changed, all the way back to the Sumerians. Even to the Sumerians, the first and the second houses were the ram and the bull. Basically, they were giving privilege to the beasts of burden that kept them alive. And even more so, although I'm getting close to the end, throughout time, the first and second houses of the zodiac, Aries and Taurus, are the only ones that really have ancient names, and they both have to deal with the angel of the Lord. All right. Tauruses, or the constellation of Tauruses, is called the bull of heaven. Sometimes it's represented as a bull, sometimes a bull with a serpent's tail, which represents something else, but it's called the bulls of heaven, and they are associated with a Sumerian goddess called Inanna. That's the angel of the Lord. The house of Aries, the first house, has to do with Adonis, another a Babylonian guy named Tammuz, but the original guy was named Dumuzid. And so Aries, also being associated with rams, are also called Dumuzi. and that is because they were associated with this mortal named Dumuzid, who was like the boyfriend of Inanna, which is also Ishtar, which is also Isis, and he eventually became like the god of the harvest, the god of spring. Okay, almost lastly, side note, I didn't realize until I actually looked some stuff up, but also Rosh Hashanah is detailed off of Passover as well, is always defined as 163 days after Passover, which means the dates can be from September 5th to um, October 5th. And then I saw that it's coming up here in a few days. So happy Rosh Hashanah, everybody. And I can guarantee that I will be speaking her personal name on the Access Monday. So you're welcome. All right, I'm getting pretty close to 12 minutes, so I'm going to sign off here. First of all, again, everybody have a happy Rosh Hashanah. But, from what we talked about, just remember where you get all those shofars from. Unless you all have a shofar tree in the land you call Israel, always remember where you get those shofars from.